Rojava is a beacon of hope. I think that we are living through very dangerous, very difficult times. We are all aware of the fact that capitalist economy isn't working, that it works only at the expense of the planet's long-term future, that endless consumption cannot work. And we are, I think, if you look at Brexit and you look at Trump and you look at, even the resurgence of the breaking of the consensus, the resurgence of extreme right, the resurgence of what people would call extreme left, but I wouldn't, but people like Bernie Sanders or Jeremy Corbyn, all of these are symptoms that we are looking for something different to replace the system that we are living under. But these are all confused attempts at denying the establishment as we see it. And I think Rojava provides that alternative template that we are all seeking. And I think if we want to know how to live in a rational way where we are producing the food that we eat, not because somebody makes profit out of it. I mean, that's how the Rojava society has managed to feed itself in the most difficult of situations, because they've set up cooperatives and they've taught themselves agricultural, techniques and so on. So I do think that we are seeing the end of capitalism. I think that there is a danger, just as there was when feudalism transited to capitalism. There were more progressive groups and campaigns and forces around, but they lost out and capitalism came into being. And there is a real danger that this transition from capitalism into an unknown future could lead to something worse than we are facing at the moment. And here is something better. And we need to understand it, we need to study it, we need to talk about it, we need to raise awareness of it, and we need to introduce those ways of working in our own political campaigning, so that just like in Rojava, long before the Arab Spring came along and provided the trigger, provided the right conditions in which this revolution could take place, they were setting up alternative structures to the state, and this council system that I talked about. And let's do that. Let's at least, we can see, for example, the reason why we're fighting the closure of libraries, or we're fighting the establishment of academy schools, or whatever, or the cuts in the NHS, is because the state is in hock to neoliberalism and isn't providing the services. Let's set up our alternative structures based on democratic ideals, so that, when the situation is right, we may be able to effect some kind of change. This is looking into the future and it's crystal ball gazing, and I'm no sage, but, this is my gut feeling at the moment, that this is why we should all be interested in Rojava. And if its fragility means that it is crushed by US imperialism or crushed by some other force, then even the fact that it existed in these difficult circumstances should be a moment of hope and inspiration for us, that it can happen. I think we've all been hardened and become cynical because all the revolutions that held out these hopes turned bad, So we look to the Soviet Union. This is partly the reason why we're so critical of Rojava, because we've been let down by the Soviet Union, we've been let down by China, we've been let down by all these possible changes that had brought us so much promise. So this should be spread as widely as possible. And I feel that when people carry this kind of lesson of hope, they are inspired to mobilize politically in their own locality, in their own areas. Signing a petition to get them a voice on at the Geneva peace talks. I know it sounds minuscule in the scheme of things, but it is something we could do. We could put pressure on our governments through our MPs let's go and talk to them about Rojava. Let's try and get them on site. Let's get the questions raised in our parliament about why is it that the British government is not doing more to support these people struggling to make a life for themselves. So those are bringing pressure, getting lots and lots of people behind it, raising awareness.